Hello everyone watching at home, you're with Sarva McClinton from Adelaide Eternal, bringing you another 7-minute 7-point series deck tech. This time we're looking at my deck called Annihilator 6. So this deck has top 8'd and also won a local event, and the reason I made it was because it's a response to Grixis control. So our Grixis overlords need to come down, so we have the advantage of Annihilator 6 being our Mirror Breaker package. And this costs only 2 cards, so Emrakul, the Aeons Torn and Sneak Attack. These 2 cards are designed to essentially allow you to win against control because Grixis is unable to answer enchantments easily. And you can land this in the early game and just leave it there, and then later on, whenever you draw Emrakul, you essentially win the game. Now, there are other advantages to having Emrakul in your deck in these long, grindy control mirrors. So the first is when you have Dack Fayden, Izzet Charm, and Desolate Lighthouse, you have this draw discard package. What happens when you have one of these engines online, especially Dack Fayden, is you can fill up your graveyard, cast a Treasure Cruise or Dig Through Time, exile fetch lands or other things that you don't want to draw again, and instead leave in your graveyard good cards like the Dig Through Time, obviously, that you just cast, and all your awesome Haymakers and cards that are still relevant in the game. Then, the next time you activate one of these, discard Emrakul, the Aeons Torn, and shuffle your graveyard back into your library. This gives you pseudo card advantage because the threat density in your deck and the good, powerful card density in your deck is very, very high after you've shuffled. So it allows you to really break up that control mirror match. The other advantage of having the Emrakul Sneak Attack package in your deck, and by extent Cunning Wish for Through the Breach, you have the ability to win games that you otherwise shouldn't. So out of nowhere, when you think that you're down, there's really it's in the game 1, so you essentially have used your Fiery Confluence, you don't have an Anger of the Gods, your opponent has a massive board and they're going to kill you. All you do is you just constantly dig, use your card draw to find one of the pieces that you're missing, and then just win out of nowhere by Emrakuling them. Now, in reality, you actually only win about 20% of the games via the Emrakul Sneak Attack package. Most of the time, what you do is you use the cards that you have from the Legacy-style Sneak and Show decks, which are the Turbo Mana, so Simian Spirit Guide, Chrome Mox, Lotus Petal, City of Traders, and Ancient Tomb. 5 cards in your main deck allow you to power out your early combo when you need to, but most of the time, what you're going to do is use these fast mana to power out a Blood Moon effect. Now, you have 4 of these main deck, and it's because your main deck consists of 10 basic lands, which is fantastic, and you only run 5 fetches because you don't need the full 7, and also the interaction with Blood Sun is quite poor. So this allows you to lock out opposing Grixis control decks really early because, again, they can't deal with enchantments. Against other decks too, you have the ability to lock them out, and then, once they're locked out, play the blue-red control shell game. So essentially, the rest of the deck is a blue-red control shell wherein you have card draw in the form of Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordain, and then actual draw in Fact or Fiction, Treasure Cruise, and Dig Through Time. And then you've got all of your counterspells. So the free counterspells, then you've got the cheap counterspells that protect an early combo when you need it, or the normally good counterspells which can be cycled later on, and from the early game you use them as a counter. And then in the later games you have interaction via Vendilion Clique and then the powerful Cryptic Command. This is your creature control package, so you have Fiery Confluence to wipe away things and also destroy Skull Clamps, and then you have Mystic Confluence, obviously, to bounce Tasigur and other threats in the late game. And then we have all your normal removal spells plus your value removal spells, like Splitting a Fire or tapping a one big threat to buy you time to combo out. Now, the Sneak Attack interactions are not just Emrakul alone. There are awesome things that you can do. I will tell you about one great play that I've had, and this is just one of the extremes. So the best possible situation was resolving an early game Sneak Attack against a Grixis control player, then leaving it there because they can't deal with it, and then later on in the game going, okay, they've placed something on the stack. I think that it was a Vendilion Clique in my upkeep, and then you go 1 red, Torrential Gearhulk, Cryptic Command counter, bounce, Torrential Gearhulk. Then, after that, in the main phase, 1 red, Torrential Gearhulk, flashback Mystic Confluence to bounce their Tasigur, also bounce my own Torrential Gearhulk and draw a card. Then, 1 red, Torrential Gearhulk, and flashback any other kind of thing. I think it was like an Abrade to destroy something. I can't remember what it was. But the main thing was I wanted a hasty 5 power attacker to attack through their guys and kill an opposing planeswalker. So that is an example of how you can use sneak attack in those control mirrors, aside from the actual Emrakul combo. Now you also have cool things like Sneak Attack makes Direfleet Daredevil technically another Snapcaster Mage in some respects, but Direfleet Daredevil pulls overtime, and you'll see in some of the coverage matches where Direfleet Daredevil simply wins the game by attacking for 20. Now you also have this Wish package. Now the Cunning Wish by itself in the main deck is actually for you to cast from your sideboard through the breach. So essentially it becomes an additional sneak attack for when you want to Emrakul out and win. Now the other advantage of having this in the main deck is that you have access to sideboard cards, and I'll just go over the ones that I use most commonly, and that is Cunning Wish for Pyroblast to destroy Resolve Jace, Cunning Wish for Flusterstorm to win a Counterspell war, a Cunning Wish for Submerge to basically to get a tempo opponent off the advantage and then pull back into the lead, and Cunning Wish for Kozilek's Return to sweep away Mana Dorks, which is also really, really common. Cunning Wish for Hydroblast on Sulfuric Vortex when it's resolved, because Burn is actually a bad matchup, so we need Hydroblast. And Cunning Wish for Surgical Extraction when they have a graveyard target and they're going to do a reanimate. They don't expect graveyard hate in the main deck. Then the Echoing Truth here is there as a catch-all, which is why it's in this kind of catch-all pile over here. And this answers Troublesome Permanence. But my most favourite one, which is the 15th card in the deck, 15th card in the sideboard, which could easily be Noxious Revival or something else, is Misdirection. And this one, catching an Ancestral Recall, is really, really fun. Now the rest of the sideboard is basically against control. You simply bring in Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, Flusterstorm, and Keranos, and then depending on what other things they have in their deck, you might occasionally bring in Hydroblast. It really depends on the style of deck they have, or Echoing Truth when they have things like Keranos. Against creature decks, you bring in your Creature Hate, and Vendilion Shackles works overtime here. And then against your combo decks, you've got a Null Rod. We don't have the Energy Flux in here mainly because of sideboard space, but that could easily be Misdirection if you don't want the cute interaction. And Hydroblast would be up for scrap, and then the Graveyard Hate, and then obviously your catch-alls over here. Now, when you're sideboarding with a Wish package, what you want to do is basically bring in cards that you need. Don't just leave them in the sideboard, because wishing sometimes is just too slow. So make it meta-dependent and matchup-dependent. So if you like Annihilator 6, then sleeve it up. You're going to love it, and catch some of our coverage matches. Thanks for watching.